So today I want to go over for the class coming up in Cedar City, the class I'm going to teach called Corner Roses. And I want to go through a quick stamping tutorial specific to that class and how to cut things out. And I'm going to go over some other brief instructions that I have in some of my other videos as well. So when you get your stamp kit, the stamp kit comes with a box like this and a couple inks. The stamp pad, when you open it up, is dry, and you have to add the ink, and it'll take about 3/4 of one of the bottles. And then once you've added the ink, every time you use the stamp pad, then you'll just refresh it, squeezing out a little bit of ink on the surface, and then it's ready to stamp and ink again. I always just store the stamp pad in a Ziploc bag, and I haven't had one dry out on me or anything yet. And so you can just use it over and over and over again. So I'm going to show you how to stamp some of the pieces specific to this. And the first piece I'm going to show you how to stamp is going to be the flower piece. And in the quilt that I have on the site, this is one of the fabrics that I used. And this is a very large print. And when I stamp, then I like to center over some of these larger flowers. And you're always going to stamp from the back side. But when you turn it over, you can see that print showing through on the back side. And what I'm going to do is I don't particularly fussy cut, it's more centering, and I'll just find a point that I like, and I want to center that big flower just like that. And then I'm just going to keep doing that with all the other flowers on there until I've got them centered the way I want, and then I'm going to cut them out. Now, if you don't choose a print like this, then this is another print I made that same quilt out of. And this is a real large print also, but it's tightly packed, so you don't need to fussy cut or center anything. And so when I start stamping for my large pieces like this, then I'm going to go just tight, close together, and just start getting so I can maximize. And because you can see through the stamp, then you can stamp your next one next to that one. So when you cut, you're cutting once. Now, it does take a little bit of time to get the stamping process down. I have been doing a lot of these, so it's a little easier. I find standing over the piece so you can see where your stamping is the best. I also, on any of my pieces, I take my piece and line up one edge on the edge of the stamp. So this is one of the other pieces we're going to be cutting, and I've lined that square up. And I find if you line them up, then it's easier to line your edges up, and you can see right where you're stamping. And then on this particular fabric, I would try and interlock them as much as possible. And then that way you also maximize the use of your fabric and don't have a lot of waste. So the other piece I'm going to stamp today and show you are the stamp set comes with a large corner and a small corner. We're going to use the small corner, and that is these pieces up here in that flower. And what I've done is I'm going to cut my pieces out, and even on the black you can see that ink stamp on the back. But I cut my pieces out so they're about going to be an 1/8 inch bigger than the piece. And then I don't have as much cutting to do with scissors if you cut with scissors. And then again, I'm just going to line up along the edge. And what I like to do on pieces like this, so I don't I like to put up something I don't care if it gets inked, and a piece of paper or something behind it. But you can see I'm lining up that edge, so I only have to cut the edges together and then this top edge. And if you're really good, this top edge, you can take a rotary cutter down. And then again, because you can see through, I like to take one corner, touch it, line up that edge, and stamp. And keep doing that all the way across. Line up, touch that one edge down, and then stamp the others. And I'll use my fingers to sort of balance where I'm at and stamp. And then cut these pieces out. And I do that pretty much with the white color that also goes into that as well. And you can see that the white and the dark color. And the instructions will tell you how many of each. But if you can get as many of these things cut out as possible, then when you come to class, we can concentrate on sewing. The other piece that I stamp is so this is going to be your leaf here. And I do the same thing. So your leaf is right here. I line up that edge when I lay it down on my block. And then same thing, you're going to just dip it in the ink. I use the edge, line up the edge, and keep going across, lining up, dropping one corner, and then the next corner. And sometimes you get off a little bit, and then if you find like this edge, I either haven't stamped it hard enough, or I've got ink missing on my pad. And then just keep stamping. And then the other piece is the triangle. And I'm just going to show you on the paper how I would do that. Again, I would cut the strips so it's about an 1/8 inch higher. And then I'm just going to stamp. And on pieces like this, I like to interlock them. And I'm just going to interlock it like that. And then this is also a good time to show you. So you can see I've got a little ink on this edge, and I don't want to stamp it somewhere and get on the fabric that I don't want it. And so what I do is I will keep a piece of a rag and just wipe that edge to keep it dry so you're not inking all your hands or anywhere else. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, but please try and get some of the things stamped before you come to class. If you don't have the stamp kit yet, I'm happy to, you can buy it through my Etsy shop, and I'm happy to mail it out with no shipping charges. Thanks.